Hey guys, Cameron with Xavier Reviews here, and I'm here to give you my review of Justice League, the Snyder Cut. This is a redo of the Justice League movie that came out in 2017. Uh, if you weren't aware, Zack Snyder was originally directing that movie, but had to step away from the project for personal reasons. And in their haste to get it out at a certain time, Warner Brothers enlisted the help of Joss Whedon to complete the film, which the two ideas didn't exactly go very well. And we didn't get a very good product back then. Since then, Zach has kind of gotten over a lot of that and he wanted to complete what he started. So, this is going to be my review. This is not going to be spoiler free, but it's also not going to go through every single beat. There will be spoilers in this that I will talk about, but overall, I'm going to give you my recommendation, and you know what? I'll throw a grade in there too. First off, thank you for clicking on this video. If you want to see more things like this, hit the like and subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you want to know as soon as I upload. For the most part, the Snyder Cut follows the regular Justice League story almost beat for beat. There are some differences, there are some scenes that are expanded, and there are some characters that get a lot more screen time than they did before. I'm going to talk about a few of those things, and I'll also follow by talking about things that were letdowns. So, first off, I want to talk about the character that had the biggest glow up, and that character is Cyborg. Um, if you weren't aware, Cyborg did not have a good time in the original iteration. He had very little to do. Anything he had to do was just strictly by the numbers for the story. There wasn't really any kind of character development. And by the beginning of the movie, you know, he's already cyborg. We really don't get a good deep dive into how he got that way, besides a reference to a very small scene in Batman v Superman. This rectifies that. Cyborg gets a very good backstory. We understand what happened, how he had the accident. We understand what his father was thinking whenever he made the decision to try to save Victor. I'm not saying it's perfect, but what I am saying is that it is a much better effort and a much better attempt to tell the story of Cyborg. And he is a completely different character than the 2017 iteration. If there's one thing, if there's one thing that, as far as changes that were made from the old to the new movie, this is the best change by far. This is a Victor, this is a cyborg that I want to see what happens to him down the line, whereas I could not say that before. If you choose to watch the Snyder Cut and you've already seen the Justice League, this is going to be what makes it worth your while. The next thing that I want to talk about that was a good, not necessarily addition, but change, was Steppenwolf. They did a lot of good things with this version of Steppenwolf that were completely butchered in 2017's Justice League. He is still the main antagonist. If you were expecting Darkseid to be a fourth quarter villain, then you're going to be disappointed because it is pretty much Steppenwolf. But he looks a whole lot better from start to finish. He sounds better. His lines, the dialogue that's written for him, it's wonderful. Okay, wonderful is a stretch. It's just it's wonderful in comparison, right? I'm glad that we get more of him. I'm glad that we get that this is kind of a redemption arc for him. And he is able to advance the story as far as not just this movie, but potential other movies. And that's one of those things that I will not spoil for you, just in case you want to watch it. If you don't watch it, it's not going to be a big deal, you know. But Steppenwolf is greatly improved. And speaking of Darkseid, we do get Darkseid in this movie, and that is something that was sorely missing in the original Justice League. Comic book fans, they know who Darkseid is, and they should have at least had an image, a visual of him in the old movie. So the fact that we got Darkseid in this, and in quite a few scenes, is good, but it's not all good, because he doesn't always look the best. Sometimes he looks a little janky, like something doesn't look quite right, and that could be a personal thing, or maybe I'm just gonna call it like I see it, and what I saw looked like at times a misshapen or an unfinished product. I was glad to see him, and there were scenes where we got to see some cool stuff from Darkseid. We get to see some Omega beams, but it wasn't him actually using them in the movie. It was kind of like it was a flash forward, not a flashback. You get what I'm saying? So some cool stuff, not the best stuff, but it's stuff that we'll take. And that's kind of all that I want to hit on the things that I liked, and that isn't necessarily a good thing. Did I want more, or maybe did I want more of a change in the story? Yeah, I did. There was so much that was retained from the previous movie that if you watch the first Justice League, I almost want to say don't waste 4 hours watching this new one. There's some good Cyborg stuff. There's good Steppenwolf stuff. There's Darkseid. But the story is still there. And not to say that the story is bad, but it's not that great. You don't get a feeling of that feeling of unity like you got in the first Avengers movie. They still have it, but it's not that aha moment that you're expecting. And there are some, even though I named some things that work well, there are some misses for me. One of the misses is Martian Manhunter is in a couple of scenes in this movie. For what? He's completely wasted. Like, the fact that he shows up is one thing, and then he shows up again after everything is over. Completely misused, underrepped, a waste of a character. And then there's the character that was super teased in the last trailer or two, and that's Jared Leto's Joker, who doesn't show up until the last 10 minutes of this movie. Completely wasted, completely misused. Anybody that says that this is a redemption for the character is lying to you. This Joker is still the worst iteration of the character that I've seen, bar none. And for the fact that he was touted as such an important part of the movie, or teased that this was going to be something huge, does nothing for me. There are a few other things that I had nitpicks with, but that's essentially it. And it comes down to it. And I kind of mentioned this before. If you've watched the first one, you don't have to waste your time with this one. If you didn't watch the first one, then yeah, you can watch this and have a much better experience than those that watched it the first time in 2017. But if you've already watched it the first time, you've seen everything that you need to see. I would even go so far as to catch the Cyborg backstories on YouTube, because you can save 4 hours of your life. So we're giving this a grade. I mean, I never graded the first Justice League, and it's hard to grade a movie on its own merits when it's essentially building off of a movie that we've already seen before. But I'm going to be generous and give it a 63. And I'm being generous because it is an improvement on the original one, but it doesn't offer enough new things to warrant this long of your time. It's worth watching, and if you want to support Zack Snyder, you can, but there are a lot of same Zack Snyder tropes that are in this, with a lot of slow motion action sequences, not nearly as many in 2017's version. Also, and this is a personal preference, I don't care for his musical selections. Like the original soundtrack stuff is fine, but whenever he puts music, contemporary music in there, I tend to not like it. And it's always been that way for me from this movie to Watchmen. Like, I like Watchmen as a movie. I don't like the musical choices. That's just a personal preference. But a 63 is a passing grade, which is one that I would say is better than the old one. But if you've already watched it before the 2017 version, I'm saving 4 hours of your life. You're welcome. So that's my review of Justice League, the Snyder Cut. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Share this with your friends, and as always, this is Cameron with ZB Reviews. We'll see you next time.